So I'm not sure I've seen that before. So a lot of scoring back. They just returned everybody from a team that had a 1-goal game or 1-goal lead in a quarterfinal game with 2 minutes left. So, you got a Final Four team with everybody back, and especially early season, right? The experience is there's a lot of value to that. But certainly in the beginning part of the year, when you just have a lot of guys who've been around, they're 5th-year guys, they're 6-year guys, they understand each other, they understand what they're trying to accomplish, they understand who they are. So a lot of problems there. They, share the ball well offensively. They have a good feel for each other defensively. Matt Dwan and Charlie do a great job. They return a veteran faceoff guy that's one of the all-time best in their conference. And again, has a guy that's tons of experience and a goalie that played really well down the stretch. So, just really good everywhere. So, we've got to kind of clean some things up from last week and really grow and just keep working to try to get better and be ready for a really good team on Saturday.
Yeah, Coach, a quick follow-up. The end of the game last week, it just seemed like the game ended with 5 minutes left in Maryland's mind, and it was uncharacteristic what happened there. How do you clean that up? I know you had a lot of reserves in there, but you don't want to see that.
No, you never do. You never know if you'll get to that spot. You don't plan on it per se, but when it does, you got to make decisions. And we really do value every guy in our team. Every guy has a role. Every guy is valued. So, if you're fortunate enough to be in that spot, whether you're up or down in that situation, I've seen both. You kind of look and go, all right, it's an opportunity to get guys in. And at that point, you want to give those guys that opportunity. They've worked all year long, some of them, multi-years. So, it's their opportunity to get in the game, and, that's their chance. Obviously it's difficult to maybe be standing on the sideline in 30 degrees and go in and play and be warm, but unfortunately, as we all know, you don't really get to choose the opportunity. You've got to take the opportunity that's presented to you. So, just got to be better when we get that opportunity. We got to keep teaching, got to keep growing. But, to me, it's the right thing to do. Those kids do work hard. And if we don't, get some of those guys in, I just feel like it'd be going against what we believe in our culture, that everybody is important. Everybody's going to get their chance when the opportunities present themselves.
Coach, good morning. And on offense, they get a lot of guys in the middle of the field. They get a lot of off-ball stuff happen in the middle of the field, and Olmstead's not kind of your traditional feeding from X kind of guy. How have you all been kind of preparing for that interior game? Because that's really what they shredded Duke with, was, a lot of in-close, picks and cuts inside. So I'm wondering, how do you get your team prepared for that?
Yeah, and I think you're spot on watching that game again, Tony. And again, concern for us because we kind of expected that last week, and we did not do a great job there. I thought at times we were at the level we wanted to be in terms of okay, we sank into the crease, but we didn't get coverage, and there's a big difference between in and coverage. When I was Navy, guys would kind of, the pilots would always say, you don't always almost land on an aircraft carrier, right? Either do or you don't. So, in this context, if you're in and covering, or you're just not covering, right? So just because you're close to the guy, if you're not there and you're not checking, and you don't get there, you could be 20 feet away and it's still the same outcome. So we've got to do a better job of that. We've got to be better and be more buttoned up. We've got to have better awareness. We've got to be better on the ball. So it is a point of emphasis, because you're right. Lindley's terrific. James is really good. Olmstead sees the field well, but all of their kids, again, they have such a good feel for each other. They're super unselfish. They always have their head up. They're attacking you inside. And if you give them creases, they'll crush you. So it's something that we're working on every day, and it's something that you have to work on every week. But watching that game, especially, right, that's their last game, and they really did do a great job of finding those looks. And you're just putting so much pressure on your goalie if those are the shots you're giving up, right? Just you got to give your goalie a little more help than that.
Hey,
Coach, I
Coach.
wanted to ask you. Oh, Nikki, go
Sorry.
ahead.
You go first on it.
All right. Well, I wanted to ask you. You mentioned, you guys allowed 13 goals last week. You mentioned after the game that you were a bit upset with the defensive performance, and Coach Bernhardt might have been upset as well. How has the team and Coach Bernhardt responded this week in practice?
Yeah, I think, I know Jesse, and I'm very blessed that he's here. He's just a bright mind, a great coach, and that's probably understating it, in my opinion. He played here. He's still one of the best in the world. I know how hard he prepares. He's an excellent communicator, and I know he believes in that group down there. So do I. So there was very much hey, we're better than this. I know you are. And I think our players feel that way. So it's definitely not a us against them thing, because we know how much they care. We know how hard they prepare. And even, like when we don't play the way that we want to play, I think Jesse's very much like, our entire staff. We just didn't do a good enough job of getting those guys ready. Maybe we didn't explain it well enough. Maybe we didn't prepare the right way or practice the right things. So there's never a pointing the finger mentality. It's just not what we're about. And I know how much those kids care and how invested they are. So, when you step back, it's like, all right, we got to figure out a better way and a different way to get a result. We're going to do this together. Everything we do to get is together. So there was definitely more a sense of urgency. We are always transparent with the guys, but that doesn't mean beating them down and being negative per se. I think it's more of, hey, there's a challenge for us to respond and do a better job. And this team presents that big challenge, but a really good opportunity to see if within the next week we can be better at that. And if we do, it's going to help us a lot. If we're not there, we're going to get exposed. So I know with this group, especially with those veteran guys that have been here, they're prideful. I'm confident that, they're going to take this personally, because I know what they're made of, and really work hard this week. And it does present a big challenge, but I know they're going to work their butts off to try to be better this week, because I just know what they're made of.
Hey, Coach. I know you talked about some guys having some knocks or some injuries, and I know Sabatello got his first career start last week. Bubba was playing more defensively. Can you talk about kind of their performance last week, and if you think you might get any guys back for this weekend?
Yeah, we I think the early part of the year, your guys are in new roles, and you kind of mentioned those two. And not only are those guys in new roles, but when you lose Jared Bernhardt at one end and you lose Nick Grill at another, among other guys, not only do you lose their presence, but you lose their communication, what they do. So there are guys shifting roles as well as the new parts. There are older parts having to fill a little bit of the void. And in the case of Nick and Jared, I don't think it'd be fair to ask anybody to replace what each one of them did, or two guys to replace what those two did. So it will be a lot of guys, helping with that, because I think Nick just evolved into not only a guy that was excellent on the ball, but he was so good at just communicating when he wasn't on the ball, and helping guys get the spots, and just kind of helping guys anticipate things and being a step ahead. So other guys are now doing that. Not that they weren't doing it before, but because of that void, we're going to need more out of some guys. And I think they're making good progress. It doesn't happen right away, but I know those guys are super capable of doing those types of things. So, and some of the guys are already, showing a lot of that stuff. So we just early season, hopefully, again, just keep making progress, keep getting better. It's a long year. Again, I give Knowlton a lot of credit. He's got great vision. 55 is terrific. And that's a dangerous team. They have a lot of weapons. And then we just got to hope that, from that experience, it's now week 2. So at least we've had a game under our belt. Certainly a Final Four caliber team coming in, so poses a lot of challenge. But, with that experience, maybe, we can kind of go, all right, now it's game 2. A lot of guys have kind of been in the mix. This is this new group together. Let's hope our chemistry is a little bit better. Let's hope we're a little better buttoned up. But we've got to get used to different patterns. We've got to kind of anticipate, the hypotheticals of, okay, this is what they did last year, but we don't know who's playing where. Kamish is back. Where is he playing? They had some other guys that were hurt. What are they running? Who's running with who? Who's playing midfield? Who's playing attack? So, there's a lot of predicting and forecasting, which is, never easy because you can't overdo it, but you also want to make sure you're prepared. So we just got to kind of keep working and moving forward. But again, we got a W, which is never easy. And again, it's February, so I'm excited about where this group could grow, where we could grow. And it is an awesome group of guys. So every day we go out there, it's a joy to be out there. Again, with everything that's gone on the last couple of years, we don't take practice or any opportunity to be together for granted.
John, apologize if this was asked. I hopped on a little bit late, but Loyola, I know you and Charlie go back. You played this team in a national championship game. There's a lot of stuff there between the two programs, and now this series coming back. What's it mean just to have this team on your schedule and be able to play them again?
Yeah, great team. That staff does a awesome job, and I think you look at the continuity, on that staff. You look over, the last 20 years, there just isn't a ton of changes. You've had some new coordinators come in, but, they have a great feel for who they are. A great program. One of the programs where, listen, lacrosse is king on that sport, on that campus. So that's a rarity. They have an amazing facility. Their fan base is very passionate, a great tradition. They're very proud of that. So in a lot of ways, I think it was the date where they had Virginia and we weren't sure what was going to happen. Charlie had kind of mentioned that. So seemed like a natural, we're always trying to play the best we can play. And sometimes that means, you're playing teams and it doesn't always go your way, but it's the season and you're trying to learn and grow and get better. And great teams like Loyola, who they're just so well coached everywhere. They don't beat themselves. They're buttoned up defensively. Their fundamentals are excellent. They're super well schooled. They just have, they have a great sense of who they are. So they will test you for 60 minutes. And if you win or lose, you're going to learn and grow a lot from that. You certainly would like to win, but for us, it just was too good of an opportunity to play a great team that you just know year in, year out, they're going to be there. They're going to be one of the best teams. So again, it's always great if you can win, but if you can't win, again, is it a point where your team grows and gets better for the long haul in front of you? Because it is a long year.
Thank you.
Hey, Coach. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sure. Coach, I recently had a chance, you mentioned Jared Bernhardt, and I had recently had a chance to kind of catch up to him and talk to him about his athletic journey at both Maryland and Ferris State. And I was just kind of curious if you could talk about what attributes kind of make him, let him be that successful, two sports.
I tell everybody when they ask me that question, I always ask, kind of the same question: how long do you have? Because it's not one thing, it's so many things. There's a certain level of athletic ability that he was gifted with. And there's some people that have that, probably not a lot. But when you combine that with just, the way he was raised, his daily habits, his mindset, just how committed he is, how competitive he is, how driven, his mental toughness, his level of intelligence. I mean, you look at all of the boxes that you would want to check and have to check if you wanted to be elite at two sports, let alone one. There aren't many boxes that don't get checked. right? You can't just be a good athlete. Like there's more to it. You can't just be smart because you need a certain level of athleticism, but you don't get better unless you're driven and you're working off the field and you have great daily habits and you're out there competing in practice like it was a game. You have to have an aptitude that as we change concepts, you can pick them up quickly. In the moment, you can make split decisions. And when you fail, you can just let it go and move forward. And so there are so many things that you look and go, yeah, that's another reason. That's another reason. So it certainly isn't one, it is a long list. And to be that successful in two sports, it's got to be that long list that you check off.
Coach, I wanted to really quickly ask about Loyola's D's, in particular, McNulty. So number one, who's scouting? Who's his scout team person for you all this week? Because he is definitely just a different LSM size, physicality, speed than you find on a lot of teams. But also Loyola doesn't, since Pat Spencer left, looks like they don't run as much. But McNulty is still he's just such a game-changing kind of player. So who's mimicking him this week, and how do you prepare for that type of disruptive player in the middle of the field?
Yeah, with us, we have a scout team, and he's a guy that, because he does so much, we're trying to keep that guy fresh. So we're cycling a couple guys through, kind of playing that role. But if you watch them on film, they're always going to test you getting out, and they are trying to run. I just think teams are doing a good job, and maybe it might be a little more subtle, but if you go back and you watch some of those games, like they are getting transition. And Ryan does such a good job. Reminds me a lot of Brian Farrell, and Brian Farrell was obviously a great player here, but a big bodied guy, holds the stick like a short stick. And we're just treating him like a short stick. We kind of feel like once they get the ball, it's basically 3 short sticks coming down. You have to be careful, because if you sub, all 3 guys are attacking the goal. And then if you do get back, then they can run early offense, they can play sub games. So it's a little bit of choose your poison. So you've just got to do a good job there. And, all you have to do is go through some of the games last year and see, Georgetown, they got some really good opportunities there, and Coach Warren does a great job. And that was a Final 8 team, and they were able to get some opportunities. And they have such a good feel for each other. And again, like, it's almost like, with 5th and 6th year guys, like they just know each other, and instinctively they can spot feed, and they may not seem open, but they're open to them because they've done it over and over and over again. So we've got to do a good job and make sure we're disciplined. We can't bump up field. We can't get caught below goal line. It's a little bit like defending the option in football. You kind of get caught down and you just look at the goalie and you're not getting back. It's like staring at the quarterback, right? And all of a sudden you miss an assignment and there's a blown coverage. So we've got to do a good job there, and they are always going to run. It doesn't matter who's in there. I think Cam Wires had 6 assists last year. So that's another guy that he's not afraid to bring it. So you kind of have to look and go, they're going to test you for 60 minutes, and you've got to be disciplined for 60 minutes. If you give them transition, they're deadly.
Anything else for Coach, guys? All right. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys. Have a great week.